Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All Our Parts. I am your host, Jasmine Proctor, and I am here with Melissa. She's the co-host of Full Time Freedom podcast. She is based in Australia. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thanks, Jazz.
So, we are going to be talking about burnout and self-love. So, just to start us off, big question: is burnout and self-love correlated in any way?
Yes. Oh my gosh, in a big way. Yeah, definitely. I think the reason that we go into burnout and we have all these behavioral stages that eventually lead us to burnout is because at the core of it, we're not valuing ourselves, we're not being ourselves, and we're not just loving ourselves as we are in this moment and realizing that that is enough. And then because we don't see that we're enough, we push, we pull, we strive, we hustle, we grind, we do all of these things that isn't natural for ourselves. It's not natural for our bodies or our brains. And then we lead into these stages of just chronic health issues, chronic tired, just unhealthy states. And it's very common. I think that's the other thing. A lot of us beat ourselves up when we feel like, oh, I'm burnout.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. I just want to sleep through my alarm again. I just want to go to bed at 7 p.m. And that is actually not uncommon in this society, this world, but realizing that, okay, how do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And then leaning more into that self-love piece.
Yeah. You just spoke to so much, which leads to just to get us all on the same lay of the land. I mean, when we think about burnout isn't just being tired. It's not just feeling fed up with work. It's not just feeling like, oh, I think I want to do a different career path. It's so much more than that. So how do you define burnout?
Yeah, I define burnout as something that's really chronically affecting you and affecting your ability to show up as your best self in probably more than one aspect of life. So let's be real, it's chronic exhaustion. It's just not feeling like yourself. It's feeling like, oh, today I just don't want to do it. But all week, you just haven't been in that zone either.
Yeah.
So it really has a chronic piece to it. It's not just like, oh, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed today, or I am, just having a mood. It's like something that's affected you longer term that you can't seem to shake no matter what you try.
Yeah, it is a physical, it is physiological, it is psychological too. It's this idea that, oh man, I'm waking up, I'm feeling physical exhaustion, I am feeling mentally exhausted, not able to quite pinpoint what. And I feel like it's almost terrifying sometimes to look at our jobs as the source of burnout, because then that means we have to do something about it. We might have to do something with it, or come to terms with the fact that we have invested so much of our identity, so much of our self-worth into the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I feel like burnout, when I think about this, I'm like, it's like we're like batteries, right? And my phone shows me the percentage of juice that I have left on my battery. And I could leave my house in the morning on 30%. And I feel like a lot of people are just kind of going around at 30% fully charged. And then I know, but at some point during the day, my phone's going to die, or I'm going to basically ration the apps that I use because I don't want to use up all the battery before I can recharge. But that's not a way to live. We need to be able to access all of our parts all of the time and show up as ourselves, as our true selves.
Yeah.
So we need to get to 80%. So we need to be recharging our battery before it's mission critical. We need to be at that 80%. And I get a notification that says your battery's fully charged. You can unplug now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, nah, I'm going to go to 100% just in case. I always do that. And I don't think it's good for the battery. Someone told me that, but I'm like, no, I want 100%. So, I feel like we need to be functioning at that 80%. Anything on top of that is a bonus. so that we can start our day, we can live our lives knowing that we can tap into all of our potential all of the time and be okay with that because, we are taking care of ourselves enough to get to that point.
Yeah. And then, I mean, tagging right along the battery analogy, once we are charged up to 100%, we don't need to go full throttle and use up all of that 100% that we have. We don't need to wake up and say, oh, 100%, boom, go back and practice the old habits. It's almost like, okay, great, I'm at 100%. And now I need to evaluate and really look at how can I incorporate self-love? How can I prioritize myself in my work, in my business?
Yeah, no, that is so real, Jazz. And yeah, I agree. And I feel like where the self love piece comes in is, when we're functioning at that 30%, like if you were to sort of get a transcript of our thoughts throughout the day, it would be appalling how mean we are to ourselves. And like
Mm,
that negative self talk, I would not speak to anyone else in my life, anyone else in the world. But like I say the meanest things to myself.
mhm.
And I think we all do, right? Like it's just rife the amount of negativity that we have absorbed from other people, from
Mhm.
society, from media. Like it's no one's fault, but I think we do have a responsibility to sort of unpack that and be like, well, whose thoughts are they? And Jazz, I
Yeah.
know you talk a lot about this on the podcast, but like, okay, so, for probably 32 years of my life, I walked around telling myself I'm an effing idiot. I'm effing dumb. No one effing cares what I say. Like, and that was real talk, my internal talk. And I was like, wow, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I didn't think of those words. Like, that came from my brother when I was growing up. He didn't say it all the time, but he would say it occasionally. And I absorbed that. And that became my inner self talk.
Yeah.
And we go around beating ourselves up, but okay, so we know that that didn't come from us, so what does? Like take that out of it, unpack it and say like, okay, if I don't have those thoughts, then who am I? Oh, I'm actually not that bad. Like people do care about me, people do listen to me, I am making an impact, and getting real about that and starting from the inside out to say like, I believe that I'm okay. I believe that I'm enough.
Mhm.
And then watching our external reality start to reflect that because we're no longer being so mean to ourselves. We're getting closer to that 80% charge.
Yeah. You just spoke to a really critical piece, but a very challenging piece. And that's identifying what is our internal voice? Who is our internal voice? Is it ours? I find myself with work of when I'm getting into that spiral of I'm not doing enough, I'm not enough, and this, that, and the other. I have to stop myself and ask, when I was born, did I think about myself this way? Or when I was 2 or 3, is this how I felt about myself? And when I asked myself that question, it was honestly jarring at first because I recognized I'm like, child me did not think of myself this way. The innocence, the naivete is lost when external factors start to develop our internal voice. And then I realized, oh, it was family. It was people who I surrounded myself with so often that were starting to be a culmination of my internal voice. And I basically had to spend lots of time in therapy unpacking, like, okay, this is where I got it from. I do not want this clouding or muddying up my internal voice because I want to be able to move with confidence. And truthfully, I don't want to always be beating myself up every time something that isn't going to plan happens. And because that also contributes to burnout when we are beating ourselves up, when we are working from a place of shame, we are just we are not like that self-compassion isn't being incorporated, and then we're just tired because it's just a spiral and it loops and it goes round and around basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just highlighted there, Jazz, is that becoming aware. And I think sometimes, you know, we're living our lives and we're like, oh, I don't have time to like sit down and think about it. But it's something that we can just track throughout the day. Like, for anyone listening, it's like, just write down, okay, I just had like a really mean thought. Write it down, look at it, be like, wow, who does that sound like? Oh, if I were to guess, it sounds like my uncle, you
Yeah.
know, whatever.
Hmm.
And that can be a great activity. But I think what you're really, that next step there is, okay, figuring out, we know who it came from. It didn't come from us. So we need to radically, deeply, unconditionally love and accept ourselves anyway, despite what we're going through, despite our perceived failures, because that's what it is. It's not real. Failure is not a thing. It's just what we think of it. It's a judgment. Um, and like kind of a modality, a therapy that I love to share with clients is called mirror work. And it is, it really pairs affirmations with that radical self-love. But the unique piece is that you're actually looking yourself in the mirror. So you're standing in front of the bathroom, like obviously keep it private, shut the door. That's how I do it. And, you know, you start by just saying, you know, insert name, I love you, Melissa. I really, really love you. And anyone would, you know, insert your name. But you're looking at your eyes in the mirror. You're addressing yourself. You're addressing your body. And you're just saying, I love you. And something happens when we say those words to ourselves, looking at ourselves is so emotional, and it's quite confronting because we've lived our lives the opposite.
Yeah.
We've been taught to hate ourselves. And I think that translates to everyone. But when you can actually stand there and like have that piece of resistance and be like, no, plant your flag in the sand and say, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, I'm going to love myself no matter what. And then the shame starts to dissolve. And then like everything else starts to dissolve because we say, yes, even though I didn't send all those emails today, I still love myself and that's okay.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't reply to all my threads today, that's okay because I still accept who I am. And when that happens, it is really that kind of concrete step to like get us to that next stage of like, okay, I don't need to do the burnout activities anymore because like I don't feel like I need to be more than who I am because
Yeah.
that's enough.
Melissa, that was just so powerful what you just shared. I mean, my first thought is the research says that eye contact is one of the most vulnerable things we can share with another person. But to have eye contact with ourselves, to look at ourselves deeply and say, you know, regardless of the day, regardless of what you did or did not do today, you are enough. You are still loved. You are still so worthy. And that all that just peels away the layer that our worth is defined by our action or our work. And it is the affirmation that we are whole regardless of. And I think we don't always give ourselves enough space to do that. I know I do not always give myself enough space to do that. And thinking about when I think my 2 jobs ago, I worked in like a case management setting, and I was so passionate about the work, and I was like, okay, I want to do more. I want to do more. I want to do more. And it was right around COVID as well. And I'm buying things for the kid, and I'm just doing so much, and I am exhausted. Like I've hit my peak, and I'm like, oh, I need to take a nap. And then the nap doesn't work. And then I'm like, oh, I need to go to the beach. And then I'm going to the beach every single weekend, and that's not working. And then I'm coming into work sobbing because I'm not quote unquote doing enough. And it got to a point where my immune system was like, you have to make active changes or I'm going to sit you down. And it actually did sit me down. I was deeply ill. I fevers, I mean, chills, heavy fatigue, like chronic fatigue. It was so hard to even like cook meals sometimes. And long story short, I quit that job and my health made significant improvement in a way that no blood work could even conceptualize. And so after that, I was like, oh shoot, I got to make some real changes. I deserve to offer myself so much more love. And it totally rippled having to set better boundaries with work, what work looks like for me. And even it also reshaped a lot of my relationships, how I show up in my relationships, because I can't say that the patterns that were showing up at work weren't also showing up in my relationships. They all, ultimately work together. And now I am much more vigilant about when my stress levels become too high, because I'm like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. Were there, and that was so beautiful, Jazz. Thanks for sharing. What sort of, do you do self-care techniques now? Like how do you kind of how do you sort of stop yourself getting to that burnout point?
That actually happened this week. I found myself I was working and I kind of have given myself a mental stop sign. And also, I have been on antidepressant that works for me. I'll be very honest about that. I've been on Prozac for the last 2 years. And that has really helped me put up a mental stop sign of like, oh, stop and listen to your body. Slow down. Your body is like tired. It is, allow yourself to rest. Allow yourself to just do an admin day on the couch and watch TV. No one says those two things cannot exist at the same time. Society might say I need to be in the office 9 a.m. with my coffee, having a working lunch, but I can decide like, no, my body's asking for something different. It's asking maybe to take a nap in the middle of the day. And so I'm much more aware of, and I'm almost much more sensitive of the awareness to my body, because I know what the other side of that feels like.
Oh, that's so good. You're a pro. I love that mental kind of stop sign. I have something similar where, yeah, I 4 years ago, probably 5 years ago, I was in my very last corporate 9 to 5, and I was working in a hospital during COVID, and enough said, right? We can all imagine.
Yes.
And I just ended up in the emergency room with like chronic abdominal pains one night. Like I felt like my body was exploding, and the no one knew what to do. They were like, okay, we did all the tests, we ran all the things. I don't know, like go home and see how it goes. And I was
Hmm.
like, but I couldn't stand up. Like I had these chronic pains. And I think when our body says like, no, enough is enough, that's always the sort of catalyst for these like journeys, right? And I remember just being like, that's not good enough. I need to figure this out. And the more you dig, the more you realize it's like, no, I actually, that was a significant time in my life of several years in a row where I hated myself.
Mm.
Like I look back in those photos and I just have such compassion for who I was, because
Yeah.
I just want to reach out and hug myself, because it was a tough time mentally, self-image wise, all of that. And yeah, so I've definitely seen that side of what that burnout can lead to. But before I now when I in my business, I get to the point where I'm like, I have a similar thing. If I have these racing thoughts, I'll stop. If I
Yeah.
the other thing, the one trigger that I'm like, no, I need to shut my laptop and go to bed, is when I'm like, oh, let me just do one more thing. And it's like 8 or 9 o'clock. And I'm like, oh, let me quick just like send that email. Let me quick just review this marketing, whatever. And I'm like, no, that's it for me. Like if I have a scarcity mindset, and I think that's what it is too, is if I feel like a scarcity of time or a scarcity of ideas or something, that's where I'm like, no, because abundance is where it's at. That's like our natural state. And that's where love is. You
Hmm.
don't ration love. You don't say love only goes to this person, you get this much, you get this much. You know, abundance is our natural state. And then every time I go into the scarcity, that's where I'm like burnout territory, because
Mhm.
I'm like going to hustle and I'm like trying to, you know, work it and stuff. And those are my indications of like, okay, enough is enough.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I so deeply resonate and empathize with what you just shared because all of my health stuff was also during COVID and I was getting blood work done. They were like, "You don't have COVID." I'm like, "Well, I'm falling out in my garage. I would like to know what's going on." And they're like, "Okay, we'll run these tests." And there was still nothing. And, to tie in both of our stories, it's not just the mind, but there's this deep connection to the body
Mm,
that we don't always pay attention to, that we don't always trust is giving us honest indicators. Why? Because society says laziness. Society says you need to do more or to have more. Society says this is what the American dream looks like. And our bodies are telling us when enough is enough. And our bodies will, as I say, it will sit us down if we are not going to sit down ourselves. And it sounds like both of us can attest to that's something that it's harder to get back up. It takes much more work versus just saying, you know what, there are some limits that I need to set. I think for me, one of my main, I think in trusting myself is trusting my gut feeling about something and allowing that to be enough and processing it from with an outside third party or with my therapist if my gut might be misleading me or might be responding just based on previous experiences, but truly leaning into knowing what is right for me and trusting that without an outside opinion, trusting that without it looking like the right thing to do or whatever the case may be. But even that is sometimes it's frowned upon because our intuition will sometimes steer us from what is popular or what is what is considered a productive work dynamic.
absolutely. And intuition, like it, I love that you bring this up, Jazz, because intuition can't be proved. It's not, it doesn't always match what we think is logical. Like you can't always back it up with data. And that's why it freaks us out because, you know, we're like in this burnout, like super highly dysregulated state. And we need data and we need to make the best decision and optimize and all that. But it's like intuition is our inner guiding light. It's like our inner compass, right? And like the magnetic north, like when the needle goes magnetic north, like that's going to take us to the thing that's best for us. But how often do we have examples in our life of going against intuition and you're like, I knew it. I knew that person was shady. I knew that they were going to do me wrong. I knew that that was going to happen. I knew that was a bad choice. I knew I shouldn't have done business with that person. Like everyone has a million examples of those.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's but it's like we need a million examples of the other side of like, wow, I really leaned into my intuition when I was at a fork in the roads and you know, I just listened to what my gut was telling me and I went with it unquestioningly and it led me to this amazing outcome. Like that's what I would love for the world to do more of. And I think when we can start to lean into our gut for our intuition, like you were just saying, Jazz, is like you start to develop that muscle, it becomes stronger, and that can kind of become a little part of your internal voice is like, oh, hang on, I'm going to turn the chit chat off up in my brain and listen to what my gut says. And what I love to do with clients is like figure out in your body, like, how does a yes sound? Like, actually kind of get quiet, take some deep breaths, just kind of be just in your vibe for a minute, for probably 5 to 10, and just ask yourself a question that you know is a yes.
Hmm.
And just sit with that and be like, okay, wow, I feel like a lightness in my chest. I feel like a little bit of butterflies. Like maybe you kind of expand a bit or you lean back. And then lean into that and say, okay, what does a no feel like? And then you ask a question of what you know is a no answer. And then you pay attention and you lean into, okay, how does a no show up? Is it the opposite? Is it something else? Maybe it's like a pit in your stomach, or maybe it's like a little shiver or something.
Hmm.
And that kind of, when you calibrate your intuition in that way, you can start to leverage your intuition for decision making. And that is where it gets so juicy for business. So juicy because it's like you can't make a bad decision with your intuition. Like it's got your back.
Well, that you just tie up the scarcity versus abundance mindset so clearly. I think abundance is terrifying because sometimes we can look at something and say, oh, it worked out, and then go, oh, it was that simple. Like, we have this idea that something has to be hard or it has to come with a struggle. But if we are truly in alignment with our intuition, if we are in alignment with abundance, it will flow. That's
Mm.
not to say that there won't be work attached to it. That won't say that there's no effort required, but it will flow. And because burnout disconnects us so much from our body, we often then get into this idea that urgency is what is going to drive us and make us move. And I recently made a post where I was like, urgency is basically fear on Red Bull. It's like this need to do, this need to accomplish, this need to overcompensate for the insecurity that we are feeling about ourselves in that moment, because that burnout has connected us to urgency and has disembodied us from our intuition.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing.
It's, and I mean, I want to even discuss COVID a little bit because I feel like COVID also really shifted the way we address burnout, even with a lot of us who now work from home mostly. And how have you been able to set limits in your business post COVID?
Yeah, what I love is just boundaries, like time boundaries at a very like low hanging fruit kind of basic level is just decide what you have capacity for. Like on any given day, on any given week, like what are the things you want to focus on sort of at a starting point. And there might be 2 to 3. We don't want to get crazy because if we go 10, then it's like it's not going to get done and then we'll feel bad about it. So let's start with just a couple priorities and then decide, okay, today's Monday. What time am I going to fit this in? And sometimes that might look like, taking clients from 9 to 12 or 9 to 11. And then
Mhm.
that's your client time for the week or for Mondays. And then it might be emails from 1 to 2 sort of thing. So it's like it's deciding what that time boundary is and sticking to it. So to give you a real example from my life, today is Thursday for me. So I do podcasts kind of first thing in the morning. And then I
Okay.
run into clients. So I'll do clients for a couple hours from like 9 to 11. And then I have that lunch break. And then I'll do sort of podcast recording or radio slots, radio interviews for my radio show. And I know when my week starts that like on this day, I'm going to be doing this. And that just it puts it in a container for me. So I'm
Mhm.
not spending, you know, an hour every single day being like, oh, I have a client. Okay, I've got to mentally get in the zone. I got to energetically get in the zone. I got to look nice. I got to put my camera on and get the light out. So it's like, okay, it's finding these efficiencies. It's kind of a time boundary, setting those boundaries, but also like a batching mindset. So like figuring out, okay, how can I batch this work so that I'm doing it in one short sprint as opposed to like spreading it out throughout my day. And then like mentally, you have all this back and forth of like, oh, I haven't done that yet, or I still have to get that client call. So those are the big ones for me is setting that time boundary and then batching the work for efficiency.
Yeah. That I think a time boundary is, it also allows space to like compartmentalize the
Yeah.
day. Like, podcasting in the morning, working with clients and this, because you're right. It's, you have to get into a mindset when working with other people, when talking with other people and being a vessel for someone else to support them. It's a totally different mindset than having a conversation with a friend or going out to dinner or being with family. And so I am with you with the batching piece because I like to be in it. And then when I'm out of it, I like to
Mm.
be out of it. I don't like to jump out of it and go eat lunch and then jump back into it. I'm like, once I'm done, I'm done. And similar to you, I think time boundaries have also been a real gift for me. In the morning, I love a slow morning. Like I will wake up at 6 a.m. and I will just enjoy for like 4 hours. I'll walk my dog, I'll eat breakfast and sit there. I'll read if I feel like reading, but I give myself that space in the morning to just be and not expect any urgency. And I've also been incorporating where I don't make any decisions in bed because I'm not awake yet. I am kind of still tired, but I'm laying there. And I found that when I was doing that, I was more likely to order out, or I was more likely to get less than what I needed to done, or I would often make decisions based on how I was feeling in that moment and not how I was feeling at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. And then I locked myself into this mindset of so tired, getting up at 10 a.m. And so I wake up, I get out of bed at 6 a.m. and I just allow the morning to be the morning. And then 10 a.m. is when I say, okay, work, eat lunch, take a little lunch break. And then the evening, really, 7 p.m. is when brains off. Like that is it. I can't do anything. I may be on Threads because I feel like that's a bit of a lower maintenance social media task, but I cannot respond to an email. I cannot plan. I cannot plot because and I know I'm tired by then. And so I feel that urgency start to creep up if I'm planning or have this bright idea. I might take a little note and save it for the morning, but getting into anything after 7 p.m. for me is a recipe for that burnout.
Mm, that's beautiful. Slow mornings, everything. That sounds so nice.
It's it's amazing. I think it also has helped with like regulating my nervous system. I think that uh, I don't know where I saw it. I've seen it in multiple places, but this idea that our bodies are not meant to jump from one task to the other, but we need like breaks. We need that buffer, that intermission to go, okay, now I'm going to do this, and now I'm going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to bake in little breaks into my day for that reason. Because, yeah, I get on this burnout cycle and I can quite easily get back on the treadmill, like towards burnout. Like I'm always like on the edge of that, going in the fast lane. But I think it's hitting like that cruise control and being like, okay, no, I'm cool cruising. I'm gonna get to I ride motorcycles, so I think very much like in this all the time. So it's like I'm gonna go cruise control. I will get to my destination eventually. It won't be as fast as I could have got there, but it's still, I'm going to reach my outcome. I'm probably going to see more of the scenery. I'm going to enjoy the ride and I won't use as much gas because I'm going at a comfortable pace.
Yeah. And then it's that reminder, that mirror technique that you shared of even going at the pace that is comfortable is enough. We are enough as we are. We are already whole.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, for anyone that is, listening, Melissa, what is your, biggest piece of advice as it relates to just being able to identify the burnout? Or what would you share with someone who is expressing that exhaustion, that just mentally feeling like they can't catch a break and like a vacation or a sleep just isn't enough?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say for starters, yeah, just recognizing that you're in a state of like emotional, chronic, physical strain and burnout, and just, okay, stop, pause, everyone pause, and then work yourself out of it. And the piece that I really want to talk about there is like, do what you love, okay? That's going to pull you out. That's going to pull you out. Not more emails, not more social media, not more doing things for other people, not more taking on projects at work. What's going to pull you out is doing what you love. And what pulled me out of my chronic burnout, and I didn't mention this, but when I was at the hospital like that went into about a 2-year infertility
Mm.
battle. I don't know how you want to say that, crisis, health situation. And for 2 years, I didn't know if I could have kids because of that. And no one could tell me if I could. Most people were like, I don't know, like wait and see, but like not positive, you know? And I just thought, okay, like I've done all the things. I've even exhausted all my options. I kind of went into a burnout cycle of like figuring out my health because that's just like the patterns I was into. But doing what I loved, and that was riding motorcycles. Like I was like, F this, I'm done. Like I'm tapping out of this health BS and I just need to do what I love right now. I just need to ride. I just need to go hit the Mississippi and ride as far south as I can. I lived in Minnesota. I'm going to ride to the Black Hills for 5 days and just camp in nature by myself. Like that's how I did it for me. And I think when we lean into and give ourselves permission to love what we love, do what lights us up for no other reason than it lights us up.
Yes, 100%. I want to co-sign, do what you love. What you just spoke to is, I mean, we don't always give ourselves enough space to enjoy something. We look for ways to monetize, and that's, I mean, that's the world that we live in, where it's tough. It's hard out here sometimes, and we look for ways to capitalize or leverage our skills, and we don't give ourselves the space enough to just enjoy, like just be. I also didn't speak on the, incorporating the things that I enjoy, but I love to paint. I'm not good at it, and I won't sell it, but it's this creative medium that allowed me to get out of my head, which I think is also another piece that you're speaking to with motorcycling, with going outside. Is it's not something we can journal our way out. It's not something that we can talk our way out of. It is expression through the body. In a way, it is connecting with nature. It's connecting with all the senses and saying, okay, this is what is going to light a fire in me. It's not going to be how much money I make. It's not going to be my work. It's not going to be the notoriety of my work. It is going to be being able to just sit down and paint. I even, when slime was a big trend, I bought like a gallon of glue, and I was like, I'm gonna make slime. I was like, the sensory aspect of it, and I still have not made the best slime yet, and that's okay. It is just nice to also be able to make a mess with no repercussions. Like that's almost inner child healing in a way. Like no one's gonna say, "Oh, you're making a mess. Don't get it on the carpet. Don't get it on the couch." It's like, nope, it's my couch, and I'm gonna make I'm gonna make slime. And another hobby, I guess, creative outlet that I enjoy is cooking. I love to cook. I love to cook for the people in my life. It was something that I recognized that I didn't need to be perfect, but if I was doing it from a place of love, it would always taste good. There's no
Mm.
measurement. There's no, I don't need to be like a Michelin star chef. I'm not nitpicking or critiquing how I'm slicing something. I am simply serving it from the purest place of my heart, and that has been its own, opportunity, being able to cook for other people as well as myself, because I'm also pouring that love into myself as well. And so I love what I eat, and I want to be able to enjoy what I eat, and I want it to be nourishing. And that has allowed me to definitely be more connected with my body and spirit.
That's beautiful. And I would bet, Jazz, that when you do those activities, you probably hear your intuition more. You're probably breathing slower. You're probably all the chit chatter of like all the worries and stress that we have probably goes away. That sounds like just some beautiful practices.
Same to you as well. Motorcycling is cool.
Thanks. I love it. I've been riding for like 5 years, and it's just something that I haven't experienced anywhere else. It's different.
Yeah. That's how I feel about painting. And it takes me to a different place. And it's not a place that I've found with anything else, really. It's just its own special um, place.
Yeah, special.
Melissa, this was such an enriching conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk and share. And I can't wait, I hope we stay connected. Just to close out, are there any offerings that you wanted to share with the audience?
Yeah, I do. So my signature offer is called Burnt Out to Badass. So I incorporate all my learnings from my business podcast, Full Time Freedom. It's a top 10% podcast. And then I have a radio show as well, talking to business women. And I incorporate all those learnings into this 12-week program. So I take women entrepreneurs who are scaling their businesses from burnt out, struggling with the overwhelm, all the stress, all the anxiety. And in those 12 weeks, we work through all those modalities, some I talked about today. And at the end of it, you're a badass. You feel like you can handle anything, and you're just confident. You have that clarity. And you're also making cash flow in your business and scaling in a way that feels really good and aligned. So that's my signature offer. I'm also on all the social medias. I share a ton of free content. So even if you never work with me, like hit my content, because I share a lot of my things that I'm just going through, that I've learned, that clients are going through, sharing it, not gatekeeping, just want to help raise up women everywhere. So I'm on socials at Melissa Hussong. My website is www.herhandlebars.com. And because I started as a motorcycle content creator. But yeah, if you want a free call, DM me and we can set something up. We'll talk strategy. We'll figure out, where you're stuck in your business, and help you get from where you are to where you want to be.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jazz.